Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you an update in our Mag 7 series. This is a weekly series now that covers the Magnificent Seven stocks, and that is, of course, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, and Tesla. I don't think I've missed any. So let's start with Alphabet, or the old Google, a symbol GOOGL. There are these long-term channel structures, anywhere from 2.5 years to 5 years, on pretty much all these stocks, with the exception of Tesla. And I'll obviously get to that as the last analysis. But this is a weekly chart. They're all weekly charts. And you can see how I mentioned in last week's that we're in the midst of what I would consider a near-term buy signal above 200.37, this descending channel top that has indicated a 2.5-year channel top. This is about 2.5 years at 221.25. It also lines up nicely with this full wave count, A minus B plus A, the 22 high subtracted from that, the 22 low, and then you add that to the 22 high, and you get the full swing, the 100% wave to the upside, 221.25 and 219.74. They form a range that can, if tested this week, I don't see that this week. It is certainly possible, and if so, can absorb buying through the rest of the year. And from here, we can fall back to 200.37 or even lower as we continue into the first quarter of next year. Yes, we would have a significant long-term buy signal if we close above 221.25, and I'm not going there in this video. I think there's time for all that. So 219.74 to 221.25, able to contain buying through the rest of the year. From here, we can fall back to 200.37 within a couple of months of testing this upper area. So good short sale territory, or if you've been long, you may consider lightening up on your long position. If your time horizon, is 3 to 5 months, maybe even the better part of a year. If we were to close above 221.25, you load up again fully with Alphabet. So let's take a look at the downside. 200.37 is represented on this chart as a horizontal line, just for reference. And if we were to fall away from here now, 200.37 does have it's an initial support area that over the next, all things being equal, in other words, if we do not continue pushing substantially higher, this rising channel bottom, the integrity of it will remain intact. And by early October, it converges with 200.37 anyway. But right now, it is about a 12-point range, a little less, down to 188.97. This is support that can absorb selling through October. And from here, we can round up into the 219 to 221 region within a couple of months of testing it. So I don't see a reason to be considered. I don't see a reason to consider longer-term bearish continuation unless we were to close below 188.97. Until then, this narrowing zone, solid near-term support, above which the 219.74 to 221.25 area remains kind of a 1 to 2 month objective. On to Amazon.
If you're finding value in this analysis, it's only a glimpse of what we offer. Your real trading edge starts at wickedstocks.com. Each week, premium members receive 2 high-probability stock picks. Each one comes with a complete trade plan, including exact entry, profit target, stop loss, and regular updates so you can manage the trade with confidence. You'll also get daily video analysis in the top traded markets, the SPY, the Triple Q, and Nvidia, highlighting the key price levels, trends, and trade setups we're focused on. Whether you're day trading or swing trading, these insights help you zero in on the highest quality opportunities with clarity. Try it all free for 5 days. Cancel at any time.
Amazon is not so strong. It's not pushing beyond its recent highs from February like Google is, or Alphabet. It is approaching the high settlement price that was put out in January of this year, and the high itself, 240.252 down to 237.68, is our range of resistance. From here, we can fall away. Now, right now, you've got the low of the high on the weekly chart is 212.80, and it has its own downward pivot point quality. So if we're looking really kind of through the rest of the year, you can buy 212.80, and I'll get to that support zone in a moment, and sell 237.68 to 242.52. If we do close above 242.52, we have what I would consider to be a 2 to 3 month buy signal to 262.19. And there again, you have a 2.5 year channel top that can, by that point in time, contain buying through the first quarter and even longer. But right now, bullish in Amazon above 242.52 through the rest of the year. Until then, we're kind of in this consolidation down to 212.80. And let me move to the next chart. 212.80 is backed up increasingly by this rising channel bottom at 205.48. So this area, all things being equal, will converge entirely over the next 3 weeks. 205.48 rising weekly forms a range that begins at 212.80 that can contain selling, through October into later year. From here, we can round up back to this 237.68 to 242.52 region. And so that is kind of our midterm dynamic. If we were to close below 205.48, I see a good high, and that's not going to happen this week, but if over the next month or two, a good high through the first quarter, probably into the middle part of next year, where I would expect Amazon to continue falling away to the 156.35 channel bottom if we were to close below 205.48. But until then, you can bottom pick the low 200 region as shown here. You can take profits in the upper 230s, low 240s. If we close above 242.52, it is go long, stay long for several months to 262.19. On to Meta. Meta has its own, and this is a little bit longer. This one goes back to October of 22, so we're now in the 3-year channel top at 828.97. That actually remains in play between now and, say, the end of October, holding above 737.26. So 737.26, solid day tradable, 3 to 5 day swing tradable, and 1 to 2 month swing trade opportunity. As long as we're above it, we do remain in reach by the end of October of 828.97, where this market, the Meta actually faces longer term resistance that once again can contain buying through the first quarter and possibly into later 26. If we were in the coming months to close above 828.97, we enter a significant buy signal through 26 that should, over the following full year or less, reach 1120.45. But until then, this is our two-sided framework. And if we do close this week below 737.26, and we are right there, I would anticipate the extreme channel bottom at with 654.84. This could be within 3 to 5 weeks, could take the better part of 2 months, but somewhere in there, I would say by the end of October or sooner, if we were to close this week below 737.26, you should expect 654.84 and climbing. I'll be providing these updates on a week-by-week basis where we could bottom out through the rest of the year and round up from here to new highs, round up from 654.84 on a 2 to 3 month basis, back up to, once again, this 3-year channel top at 828.97. Finally, with respect to Meta, if we were to close below 654.84, we have a good high through the first quarter into the second quarter of next year. This would be a 3 to 5 month sell signal down to 520.24. I see no reason to anticipate 520.24 unless we close below 654.84. Until then, holding above 737.26 will keep this 3-year channel top at 828.97 in reach between now and the end of October. Microsoft actually tested a 5-year channel top about a month and a half ago, presently 559.09. We also closed below its sister formation a week later at 533.20. 533.20 is a sellable resistance area on a month-by-month basis. We are now below the low of the high that actually happened a couple of weeks ago. It roughly held last week's high, so holding below 509.43. After all this, after testing the 5-year channel top, closing below its sister formation, and now below the low of the high, I see the path of least resistance being downward over the next couple of months to 468.35. This old high from July of last year cannot be ignored for its ability to contain possibly monthly selling pressures, and we could come off of that. If we were to close below 468.35 in the coming month or two, that sets up, or at least indicates, a good high probably through all of 26, because I would then consider a likely continued price erosion to the 367.11 5-year channel bottom within probably 3 to 5 months. Note that when you test a long-term channel top like this, you must allow for the possibility of longer-term bearish rotation to channel support. We've seen that before. And so I'm not saying that we're destined to test 367.11, but if we close below 468.35, it begins to look that way. And you can see that that would be the likely outcome. On to Apple. Now, we cover Apple on a week-by-week basis at wickedstocks.com. It's subscription-based, so I'm only giving you 3 points here, but know that if you log in or if you subscribe to wickedstocks.com, it comes included. That is to say, weekly Apple stock analysis, where I give you sort of the breakdown on all the near-term sell signals that you might anticipate and buy signals over the different time frames. You kind of know how I break it down with respect to Tesla and Nvidia. A 235.37 is a former channel bottom that spans back to April of 24, about a year and a half. It has been and was considered an objective following the test of the 5-year channel bottom last April at 192.76. We'd mentioned to our subscribers how you can anticipate upward rotation to this former channel bottom at 235.37. I've also mentioned how holding above 192.76 will keep 5-year channel resistance in reach again over the next year or two. We did test this 5-year channel top back in December, and after doing so, we'd mentioned how the channel bottom, presently 192.76, should be considered a 1-year possibility. That took about 4 months to realize, 5 months. And so we did overshoot the runway, but we never closed below this channel structure. Bottom line with Apple, you can sell 235.37, anticipating possible bearish rotation into the lower 190s over the next 2 to 3 months. In the wickedstocks.com video, I give you the exact sell signals that would make that a likelihood to the downside. Upside, if we close above 235.37, it is bullish continuation over the next 3 to 5 months or sooner, quite possibly by the end of the year, back to the 275.98 long-term channel top, where we could top out through the first quarter of next year and even well into 26. On to Nvidia. We cover this in our daily YouTube series, so you're probably already familiar, but this is a 2.5-year channel top that we closed above 3 weeks ago, closed back below the following week, and closed even lower last week. And so I skew bearish on Nvidia by a degree, and I will also say that the Triple Q and NASDAQ 100 have yet to close above their respective 2.5-year channel tops. They've been testing them, they've been holding nicely, and we've fallen away as Nvidia has fallen back below its structure. And so holding below 180.57, I think you can play the upper 140s as a 2 to 3 month target that becomes fully clarified if we settle Friday below this horizontal structure at 168.79. So if you're not short Nvidia, your next indication and opportunity to do so would be a settlement below 168.79. Inversely, closing back above 180.57 would be constructive, but what I really want to see is a higher, all-time higher weekly settlement, which is 182.70 from a month ago. So if we close not only above 180.57, but also above 182.70, we shift back into the bullish column, expecting 219.64 within 2 to 3 months. I will also say that if we close above 182.70, it is likely the Triple Q and the NASDAQ 100 will have also closed above their respective 2.5-year channel tops. And finally, Tesla. We also provide Tesla analysis on a day-by-day basis, but this is just a broad brushstroke, and on the YouTube channel, by the way, and that's free. You can see it. The low to upper 350s has been our resistance. We've been mentioning you can sell on every attempt, below which we can fall away from here into the 260s or lower. Our clear downside sell signal, at least on the weekly chart, would be a settlement this week below 213.20, and then within a couple of months I would expect 260.89. I would rather have you watch the daily Tesla series because 213.20 is a nuanced with a rising channel bottom that we provide on a day-by-day basis. Inversely, if we close Tesla above 359.67 at the end of this week, we enter a long-term buy signal over the next full year or sooner, probably 5 to 8 months. I would expect this 5-year channel top at 521.96. And that covers it for this week's updates in the Mag 7. You have a great day.